Today is Monday, July the 17th, and I'm really enthusiastic because I get to advance a part of our process today. And our process requires us to work every day toward pushing toward the goals that we want. And it's really what I'm covering today in the daily journal. So if you stick through my reading through the daily journal, I will actually show you that process. And I think that's important for the people that we reach that are in jails and prisons across America, because those people don't have access to the internet. So a lot of times they can't see what I am doing. So that's the reason I try to show them, hey, first of all, I try to teach them the strategies that helped me get through 26 years in prison, that helped me use every day productively so that I was always working to restore my confidence and build a life of meaning and relevance and dignity, because that's what we want for every person that's going into that system, to start learning, how can I create a process that's going to bring me the result that I want? None of that happens by accident. And prisons are filled with people who are masters of happy talk and giving reasons why they can't do something, or what's not working for them, or the reason that they're inside, or what their lawyer said, or what somebody else said. But what we really need is to master our own process. We really need to figure out, what steps can I take today that will lead me to the outcome I want? And the strategy that worked for me was by studying leadership and figuring out, how can I bring those principles into my life? I didn't know how to do that before I went to prison. But while I was inside, I learned that process, and it helped me immensely, just like it helps me now that I've been home for almost 10 years and have built a number of businesses. What did I build them around? I built them around what I learned while going through prison. That's the nature of all of our work at Prison Professors, is to teach other people. How do you teach yourself? How do you become a master of your own environment? How do you develop a process that will lead you to the outcome that you want? The sooner you learn those skills, the stronger you become. And I can't change the world for anybody, but I can show you the process that worked for me, and that is going to be the nature of today's journal entry. And to show you that journal entry, I will turn my screen to our new website, which shows all of the different ways that I am still using this. This is Prison Professor's Talent. I'm scrolling through it right now, and you could see all of it followed a process. A process of, first of all, helping my constituents, which are those people that I try to reach. How do I identify with them? And you'll see at the top of it, I have 3 boxes. One where I describe the culture of confinement, because I have to connect with administrators. I have to connect with people who really run the system, and I have to earn their trust, and I have to show them that I would never ask anybody to do anything that didn't work for me. And I have to build that model, and nobody knows how hard I have to work to build those relationships, but they are necessary as part of a process. I have to plan. I'm always planning, okay, not looking at what's going on today, but rather what's going to change in the months, years, and decades ahead. And so that plan needs to reflect that I'm looking at everything. I need to look at employment, because part of my job is to try and create relationships with major employers who will help justice-impacted people on the other side of the journey. And so all of those books that you see scrolling across, they're all part of that process. Writing these books are part of the process that furthers each element of the plan. That's what resilience is all about. That's why I profile people like me who were once serving very long sentences. These 3 fellows were all serving life sentences inside high-security penitentiaries, but they used a process to help them get a better outcome. And now they're all home and successful. And that's what we want for everybody on our team and everybody in all these institutions where we have already developed relationships. So we're continuing to grow this process because we're deeply committed to trying to help as many justice-impacted people as we can prepare for success. So I never ask anyone to do anything I didn't do. That's why if you go up here to the search bar and you type anybody's name, you'll be able to see anybody who is working through our project. I only use my profile as an example because I went through every stage of the journey. So if you'll see on an individual's profile, they can go to Michael Santos, and they can see, the kind of stuff they would see if it was their name up there, where they're serving their sentence, what their registration number is, how do people write to them, right? It's a process. To build this was a process. It required me to have an engineer build this together so it looks the same for every single person that comes into our community at Prison Professors Talent. Okay, then on the individual's profile, you'll see there that there are 4 different sections: a bio, a journal, a book report, and a release plan. So the bio is where an individual will tell his story, what's changing in his life. The journal entries are what I'm going to be talking about today, and this is an example of a journal entry. But I'm also making this video with additional information so that you can see it's part of a process. The journal exercise is not an exercise just for the sake of giving you something to do. It's part of my process. This is a process that I use to make it through prison. And then there's another section there on book reports and another on release plans, and these are all iterative because getting through prison and succeeding through prison is iterative. So let's look at today's journal entry as an example. And I can go ahead and just read this journal for the people who are in prison that may be listening to this on an audio file rather than reading it, or people who are reading it but maybe want to improve their reading skills and so they can follow along as I read. So creating a process is essential. And this is, just so you know, this is the journal entry for today, which is July the 17th, 2023. Creating a process is essential to prepare for higher levels of success. In prison, my 8,344th day, I wrote about the process that helped me prepare for success after my release from prison. I learned to create a process by reading about leadership. Now, an example may help to clarify what I mean. Consider the company McDonald's. Where the people have served many years or decades, almost every person in America is familiar with a Big Mac or Quarter Pounder. McDonald's has sold more hamburgers than any restaurant on the planet. Yet I doubt anyone would argue that McDonald's makes the best hamburger they have ever tasted. If McDonald's doesn't make the best hamburgers, why would they sell more than any other restaurant on the planet? They sell more because McDonald's has perfected the process. All activity in a McDonald's restaurant has a reason behind it. All actions are part of a design to get a specific result. Engineers in the company are constantly working to refine the process. Some steps in the process might include, number 1, what ingredients will go into a burger in specific measurements and specific order. The temperature to cook the burger and the length of time it will cook. How the company procures supplies. How much time the company allocates to making a burger. How the company packages a burger. How the company brings its burgers to the attention of the market. What percentage of sales go into marketing. What steps the company takes to hire an employee. The training modules that go into onboarding an employee. How many restaurants the company will open. The company is successful at selling hamburgers because it starts by defining success. Then it sets clear goals. It created a formula or a process to deliver the results that it wants. When the company gets everyone to follow the process, it sells more hamburgers than any other restaurant, even if McDonald's doesn't make the best hamburgers. To prepare for success after prison, I followed a process. In my book, Prison, on my 8,344th day, I described the method that worked for me. Although I no longer stand up for count daily, I continue using the same process to work towards success as I define it. We must always change and iterate as external events change. And that leads to adjusting the process. At the start of my sentence, for example, I served my term in the most violent, high-security penitentiary in the nation. While confined inside those 40-foot walls, my process kept me safe and allowed me to advance toward the goals that I set. After 7 or 8 years, I transferred to a medium-security federal prison. I set different goals inside those fences because I was in a different stage. Later, I transitioned to low and minimum security prisons. In those environments, I leveraged earlier achievements to work toward other goals. Since completing my obligation to the Bureau of Prisons in August 2013, I crafted a new process. It focuses on the challenges of building businesses, growing revenues, and creating resources that will allow me to make a more significant impact. I want to develop solutions to reform the criminal justice system to incentivize the pursuit of excellence. Still, I follow a process, and that process requires daily accountability. In writing the daily journals, I am striving to show others how my recommended strategies continue to work for me. I believe they can work for others, whether beginning a journey through the criminal justice system or climbing their way out. And as you see through this system here, we have an entire website where we are documenting, the different ways that we are building. But this isn't the only website, right? I have a different website here at Prison Professors, and you will see there is still a process. On this particular website, we are striving to offer free or low-cost resources that people can use if they're going through the criminal justice system. How can they learn? What can they learn? What steps can they take to prepare for different stages of the journey, whether they are pre-sentencing, post-sentencing, whether they are self-advocating, right? They need resources because they may not have that example. They may have never been in the system before. So we create these resources here, and we highlight the experts that we bring, including the former chief of probation, former directors of the Bureau of Prisons, former federal judges, former leaders in the Bureau of Prisons or wardens in the Bureau of Prisons, and many, many more. So all of this is part of a process. But every day we will also show, hey, we're not asking you to do anything we didn't do. And so that all begins and requires a process, right? That process includes a lot of information, such as the journal that I'm showing you. I publish the daily journal here on this site because I'm showing people, look, this is an everyday event. To prepare for success through a crisis really requires you to think, and it requires you to develop a process. Here's my process, right? You could see here on this website that I've got many, many articles, and every article, like if I were to, let me see if I could make this screen just a little bit smaller so that you could see everything, okay? So there you have it. On this side of the screen, right, I can scroll down to the bottom, and on this side of the screen you have like an index. So there's Monday. That's the process article that I just read. It starts out with me writing this article first, okay? That's the first step in my process. I write the article in a word processor. Then, after I write the article in a word processor, I use artificial intelligence just to make sure and catch any typos because time is so valuable. So I use an artificial intelligence project here that does a very quick review, and it just tells me, yeah, it's passing, right? So if I needed to make edits in it, I made edits right here. But then that saves me time. Then I continue with the process, right? Because reading and building a business means we also have to strive to generate awareness. So that requires us to use social media. So for every time we write an article, bam, we'll create a series of social media posts that go along with the article. And these will go back to relate back to the article. I have a process down here at the bottom, right? This is every day of the month, okay? Then I'll give a task list for other people to follow the process. So here it is. Process number 1. Michael will write a daily journal and publish on Prison Professors Talent. That's what I just showed you. Then I will use artificial intelligence to generate the social media posts. Then I will have somebody else on my team publish it on prisonprofessors.com, which is a completely separate website. Then I will have a graphic artist create the thumbnail. Then I will record a video for each article and publish it. Then another member of our team will publish it on Audible. So it goes on to, it eventually becomes an audiobook, but it also becomes an iTunes podcast. So it gets distribution. Then I will link back to the website. Then I will have our interns distribute it to our population in prison. So you can see how this process is really quite elaborate, but it's all related to my goal of trying to advocate for change within the criminal justice system. If I can show people what does excellence look like, what is a best process to prepare to succeed through a crisis, that person can learn how to use those techniques to get through his crisis or her crisis. And it doesn't matter which stage of the journey a person's in. These are the strategies that got me through 26 years in prison. Had I learned them early enough, I would have avoided prison altogether, because I would have been living my life in a values-based, goal-oriented strategy that allows me to achieve a high level of performance and a high level of success. So we have to define excellence, but we also need a plan and a process. And that's what our course, Preparing for Success After Prison, teaches. That's what our life teaches. And the cool thing is, anybody can get it for free. They just have to invest the time. I mean, I'm just asking you, invest the time. I'll take the time to read it, to write it, to learn more, to film it, to produce it in audio, to distribute it for free to as many people as I possibly can, because that's a process that will lead to the advocacy that's important to me. What's important to me? It's to make sure that you have a pathway to get your life back on track, so that you're at home, you're with your family, you're working, you're contributing, you're a good citizen. A citizen where nobody's running from you and you're not running from anyone. That's what that requires us to reach into jails and prisons every day. It requires us to persuade administrators to work with us. It requires us to persuade judges and employers and creditors and so many other people, be a part of the solution, be a part of the change that you want to see. So I am Michael Santos. I am the founder of Prison Professors. I hope that you are finding value in these courses that we try to disseminate to jails and prisons across America. And if you find value in them, I hope that you will continue to be a part of our community. I am Michael Santos, and I believe in you.